So I'm doing an oil change on my 2014 Ram today because it needs it. And I'm going to be removing my Derale oil cooler and thermostat controller here. And the main reason I'm removing it is we don't tow heavy with this thing anymore. You know, before I had the 10,000 pound trailer and I was actually overloaded on this and we were towing it and it was really heating the oil up. Now I got my big dually and that's what it's for. This usually just tows the boat. And so it doesn't really need this cooler anymore. It's been working fine, it's no issues. Another reason is, let's see if we can get up here under here and show you. Early on, I had a few leaks at some of my connections around the heat exchanger, but I snugged those up and they worked. But now, if you can see it, you know, the wet lines there, and what we got going on, as you can see, the power steering pump and the plug for the four-wheel drive is we got some leaks going on that look like they're related to the O-ring at the top of the adapter. And I mean, it's not terrible. It's probably all I need to do. There is an extra O-ring with the kit, and I could probably just take that apart, change the O-ring, crank it back down, and everything will be fine. But like I said, I don't really need it. It's additional complexity. It adds another couple of failure points that could potentially let oil out of the system catastrophically if something cut it or anything like that. So, since we don't need it, I'm going to be taking it out. It's fairly simple. All of the hoses and everything, they just come out where I zip tied them. And the brackets that I made for the fan, they just unscrew and that'll come right out, and then the wiring comes out. Not much to that. To get the adapter off, I'll show you once I get to it, but you just take the filter off, and then there is a big nut with an adapter on it that grabs onto the actual thing that where the oil filter goes stock, and you just unscrew that and the adapter falls off. So it's going to be messier than usual, even though it's usually a mess, because this is a terrible setup having this oil filter this above everything. But so that's what we're going to proceed to do. We're going to pop the oil filter off, pop that bracket off, let it drain, and then put the oil filter back on and fire it back up. So there you can see it. That nut in the center is what holds it on. But one thing I noticed is it's got a pretty good amount of slop. So I think that may have loosened up a little bit. So I may attempt to tighten that down a little bit and give this one more shot, because that seems to be the reason it's leaking a little bit. Mainly that adapter seems to have come loose. So that's something I think to keep in mind, is when you do your oil changes on this thing, it's probably worth it, since you have it open like this, to check the torque on that stud. So I'm going to see, it's supposed to be 20 foot-pounds. I'm going to try to get a torque wrench on it and see what I can do. I don't know, given the access, but we're going to try. Alright, so she is snug down. It was rather loose, so we will give that another shot and see how she does. But so now we're just going to put the oil filter back on and finish the oil change. Alright, so she's done, everything's tightened back up, the cooler is still on. We're going to give that one more shot. And this is the oil life meter I've been following on this thing. You'll notice that I've got 98,800 miles but I'm right at the end of my life. That's because one time we were towing and the oil got so hot before I put that cooler on that it actually made me change. It told me to change the oil at only 8,800 miles and not 10,000. So there is something in this algorithm that tells you, that keeps an eye on what the engine conditions are and estimates what the life of the oil is. So it won't always be 10,000. If you drive it normally or tow lightly, yeah, it's going to be 10,000 every time, as you can see here. But I had one time where it told me to change it at 8,800 miles. So that was interesting. Now we're going to reset it. Yeah, we do that. The engine must be off with ignition and run. Okay. Yeah, I know the oil changes do. Do it again. There we go. And now we're back to life. So, see y'all in another 10,000 miles.